Party with your host, Dustin Rybka.
Hello and welcome to Sex Party. I'm your host, Dustin Rybka, and on this week's episode, we have Erin Alexis, actress, stand-up comedian. She's fucking rad. She's based in LA. She's done some commercials you might recognize her from. We talk about all sorts of stuff, relationships, disastrous relationships, what it's like to be a female comedian. We chop it up about the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, fucking courtroom madness. And if you stick around to the end, Erin tells us an abortion joke. Buckle up and get ready for my conversation with Erin Alexis.
This week's conversation.
Erin Alexis, welcome to Sex Party. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm super glad you're here. I'm stoked, to say the least, about finally getting you on the show. For the viewers, for the listeners, for the audience who might not know who you are, could you introduce yourself? Maybe talk a little bit about who you are, what you do, why you're cool. You know.
I mean, we only have an hour, so I don't know if I can go through all the reasons why I'm so cool, but I'll try to condense it. Yeah, Erin Alexis. I live in Los Angeles. I am an actress. I'm a stand-up comedian. I am apparently really bad at relationships because I haven't been in one for so long. Actually, that's not true. I broke up with my boyfriend 2 weeks ago, but like one of the many of the just leave them behind in the wake. That is my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, so like comic actress, like what would it can be current, it can be like last year, it doesn't really matter. Like what would people know you from? Because I know like I checked out your website, obviously, doing research on you. And you are in some really notable commercials, and I'm like, I've totally seen her.
Yeah. Probably most notably, and I even got like people like would recognize me out at bars or something. I don't think it's airing anymore, but it's an Allstate commercial. I'm like driving a Prius down the road, towing a house, and the song Our House is playing. So that's one that got me a lot of notoriety. I was in an episode of Station 11, actually a couple episodes of Station 11 on HBO, that new show that came out kind of recently about a flu pandemic. Very timely.
Yikes, yeah.
Yeah. And then I've been in a bunch of commercials. I was in a Hulu commercial. I'm in like a Breathe Right commercial. I just shot a few different commercials. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of making rounds.
there's a Super Bowl commercial in there, if I'm not
There's a
mistaken.
Super Bowl commercial. Yes. Yeah.
You
Um,
made it.
there's just been so many. I can't even remember anymore, you know?
um okay, and so what is it like, broad question, what is it like to be a female comic in LA with all of the madness in the world happening right now? Maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think being a comedian in general is A, we're tasked with a lot, but B, I think we're tasked with it because we're the comic relief of what's happening in life. And so if there's anybody that's gonna like help us pull through, I think it's comedians. And I definitely remember like my first few mics back after the shutdown. It was like really strange. I felt like I was doing it for the first time again.
Mm.
So it was kind of bizarre, but I mean, I love doing stand up. I feel like I've built a really great community of comedians, and yeah, it's not, I mean, it's not without its challenges, that's for damn sure, but
Yeah, I mean, how do you make a pandemic funny? Like what was that like?
right. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, especially because I was like blackout through all of it.
Fuck
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I
working on
mean,
myself.
I might be blackout right now. I don't
I
know.
mean, I'm, like, just waiting to, like, it's always, like, a game of time before I'm, like, cave in and I open the wine.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I mean, I know for, like, other comedians that I've seen, they did it so well that I was like, "Oh, that's so clever. I wish I would've thought of that." I mean, that happens a lot, I think, in the comedy world where, like, my lenience because I talk a lot about, relationships in my stand up and things like that and failed relationships. So I talked a lot about that and how just how fun it was to be
Mm.
single during a pandemic.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people are going through that and the painful stuff, right? Like when you're up there, like really getting into it and really like being painful about it, like being alone. I have
Yeah.
this whole thing. Somebody asked me a question like, oh, not it wasn't necessarily like a where do you see yourself in 5 years, but it's like what is the next, such and such now that we're kind of beyond, COVID or whatever. And I'm like, well, my answer was something like, there's this, grand, awesome way, right? This is how I see things. But then I immediately followed it up with like, but, I probably will wind up dead in a crawl space, and they were like so shocked. But like at the same time, it was like funny because it was like,
Yeah.
I get it, man. I feel like we're all sort of like beat to death emotionally, mentally over this stuff. And it's your job to get up there and make that funny, which in
Yeah.
turn is kind of funny,
Yeah.
but I would imagine it's not easy.
Yeah, and I also, like, for me too, like, would steer away from doing pandemic stuff because, like, I just lived it and we all just lived it and, like, we all just wanna move on from it. So, for me, like, a lot of things is just sort of like, I'll have, like, "Did I get into this relationship because of the pandemic? Yes. Would I not have any other realm of the world? No." But, like,
Right.
that's just what it is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people I feel like, and I've talked about this a lot on the show, but a lot of people who were in relationships kind of got stuck, right? And now they're like running for the hills. And a lot of like the lonely hearts, right?
Yeah.
Um, they're like trying to get in. So and
Yeah.
there's like but it's funny because there should be a lot of crossover, but it just seems like two separate camps out doing two separate things. And when you come across people like that on a dating app, like you could fucking tell, man. Like you get a match with somebody on Bumble and they're like, drinks, let's party, blah, blah. And the other, like, what are you looking for? It's like, I don't know, bye. And like, so there's very like
Yeah.
two separate camps. There's no in between, there's no happy medium. I mean, is it like that a lot? And that's kind of like what it's like in Chicago. Is that what it's like in LA?
I mean, I feel like LA is always kind of a little bit of a clusterfuck of what
Mm,
people want because like half the people don't really know what they want. Um, and then I personally hate dating apps, so I try to not go on them as much as humanly possible. But then, loneliness is a real thing, so I'll pop on there. But I definitely have noticed some like men aggressively trying to date. Where I'm like, you need to take it back a notch. Like, just slow it
yeah.
down.
Yeah. I feel like that's not because of the pandemic. I feel like it's just
I,
been that way
like,
forever, right?
that's probably also true.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your dating life. You said you just broke up with someone 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Fresh off that boat.
So how long did you guys date, right?
Yep. Well, we were on and off for a year
Right.
and a half. So,
Sure.
always a good start when you can't commit right away. Like, it's
Mm.
always destined to go well. Uh, uh, we definitely, I met him in like October of 2020. So it was right at like the height of
Oh, yeah.
everything. And um, we god we were like broke up back together. We were never like officially boyfriend girlfriend, but it was like we'd hang out and they'd be like, I can't do this anymore, and like stop hanging out, and then I'd get drunk and be like, what are you doing? Why don't you come over? Because I have no boundaries. And then and then like finally in January we're like, you know what, let's try to be like an actual boyfriend girlfriend. Like let's just like do this.
Mm.
And it went really well for like a few months, and then it was back to being like, no, like, no, this is the same old bullshit that I was putting up with before. So why am I
Yeah.
doing this again?
So what was the final straw then? Like, this is weird, or was it like,
Oh, he is okay. Like, I get that most men, no offense, are terrible communicators, but you guys suck at it.
yeah.
But he like took the cake of terrible communication, and like that is something I have mentioned to him on multiple times. Like, all you need to do is let me know. It's the simplest thing. You can send a 3-second text message and be like, "Babe, I can't meet up," and I'll be like, "Fine." Great, do your thing. But instead, I would have radio silence, and I just got fucking mad one like real angry, like pushed to my limit, went to his house, threw his shit on his couch, and was like, "Bye." So wasn't one of my crowning moments, but you know,
I
gotta
mean,
give it oh,
yeah, you just for real. I mean, fuck that. I mean, whatever.
yeah,
And that's the worst too, because if it's like radio silence, it's like you have nothing to go on, right? You're kind of stuck.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Was he doing it as like a power move, or was he just doing it because he just was playing video games or masturbating, or what's going on?
I don't know. I think he's just a fucking ding dong and like,
Yeah.
oh, I get depressed. I'm like, we all get depressed. Guess what we have? Our phones that we can communicate with people on. So don't
Yeah.
use that as an excuse because that's not a good one for me.
Yeah. Uh, I thought you were gonna say like he was bad at communicating like how he was feeling, but if he's just basically like not telling you where he is or who is
Yeah.
there, whatever, like that's a whole other thing.
I'm talking baseline communication, like won't even like
Yeah.
pick up a phone and let me know that he's alive, you know?
So how many hours, days would that happen where you were you like 2, 3 days out? Like what the fuck, dude? Or is it more of like a
It'd be
daily?
like I mean, like, it would be like a 1-day thing, but in the beginning, it would be a 3-day thing. And when we first started on and offing, it was like, it'd be days, and I'm like, "Where'd you go?" He stood me up before. I'm like, "Bro, I was gonna cook you dinner," which I don't even cook myself dinner, and he, like, just didn't show up, and I was like, we're not doing this."
Yeah. So that was the main issue probably with the relationship.
Yeah, it's just like, if I can't rely on you to be, like, consistent and reliable and somebody who will let me know what's going on, like, how am I supposed to have a future with that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's
Mhm.
like you said, it's like baseline shit, right?
Baseline.
Uh, was he a comic? Was he in your industry or
Oh,
no?
god, no, I don't date comics.
Oh, okay. Okay, why don't you date comics?
Oh, we're the absolute worst.
Why are you the absolute worst?
Because I mean, for the most part, we can be rather selfish. I'll admit that, and it's also because I mean, for me, like my acting career is and my like comedy, that's like number one for me. So
Sure.
that's like, if I have to like cancel a date because I have an audition or I'm doing a show, like I'm gonna cancel that date. Um,
Yeah.
but then also, I mean, I think it's very different for men and for women uh in the stand-up world, but I know for sure there's like a lot of just yeah, there's a there I never get hit on after shows, but I know a lot of men who get hit on after shows, and like we're already known for infidelity, so just I think it's just a slew of things.
Well, yeah, because it's that thing, right? Like, a person on stage is automatically doesn't even matter what they're doing, they're just automatically more attractive than the person in the
Yeah,
audience. It's just
yeah,
how it is. There's something about that, from our fucking ancestral
yeah.
whatever.
Plus, I want somebody who's stable. like
Mm,
like I'm nutty. I'm nutty enough for two people, so
sure.
I need that balance.
Yeah, and when they're not fucking replying back, it's a mess. And then to think, well, maybe they're with some fucking groupies or something, then it becomes an even bigger mess. I get it. I
Yeah,
just I needed to get you on record actually
yeah,
stating these things.
yes,
Because it is like people don't think about it that way, but comedy is like fucking rock star shit, right? It's the same shit. It's like drugs and booze
for sure.
and sex and
Yep.
all sorts of, and like a lot of those things like intermix, like comedians and the adult industry and the music industry and the TV. It's like it's all the same shit in LA. It's all the same
Mhm.
industry kind of in LA. So everybody like hangs out or whatever. So like just the trust stuff, I would imagine, would be a
Yeah.
fucking a
I
thing.
mean,
And yeah, and you hear that a lot. Like, oh, I don't date performers, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, I just had to like pull it out of you. So now it's there. So okay, so before this last guy, was there a span of time where you pre-pandemic, like were things
Yeah.
more active? Because for me, I just feel like 2019 was like fucked up for different reasons, but it was like way different, more wild, like on the dating apps and whatever. And now it's like, wait, where are we? Like it's so fucking. No one gets that. No one gets that at all. I feel like I've like just been doused in rubbing alcohol and fucking lit on
Yeah.
fire. Like it's just
Yeah.
insane.
Running through the streets. Like, help me,
Yeah.
somebody.
Just totally like incoherent, like in the windows. Like
Yeah.
that's how I feel. So I can
Yeah.
only imagine.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I've my dating track record has been very not great. I mean, I hate dating first and
Mm,
foremost.
yeah, it's weird.
Um, it's yeah, it's very weird. And I mentioned earlier I don't like dating apps, so like I'd be like finding people out in the wild, which um
Where's
was
your go-to spot?
I Ye Rustic Inn is a one I go to quite a bit.
So
Um
bar?
it's a bar, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a bar gal.
Love
Um
that. I love that.
Yeah, there's a few little spots in Silver Lake I like to frequent as well. Uh, but yeah, so when the world was open, it was pretty easy to meet people on a regular basis, and then that all changed. So
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like I'm like you, right? Like I don't really I'm not leaving the house like got condoms in my pocket. I'm going to find some women. Like I'm not
right,
hunting. I'm not hunting for women. But like
right,
I will go to a bar and just kind of like by myself even and like get
hmm
drinks and chill and talk to the bartender, do whatever, and
yep,
stuff just sort of happens, right? Like that's just how I've always been, whatever. It's fun. But and to be honest, I've definitely noticed an upswing, uptick, whatever the fuck we want to call it, not in COVID, but in people's attention, right?
yeah,
Like people are
yeah,
talking more. I feel like everyone's probably horny, whatever. But
mhm,
on the dating apps, I feel like people are way more conservative. Whereas in 2019, everyone's like, "Yo, want to get drink?" Like now, it's like, "Yo, want to get married?" Like, no, wait, what?
whoa, where'd that
Yeah,
invitation go?
yeah. So I hate dating apps too.
Yeah, yeah,
This
or
fucking
it's kind
suck.
of like a necessary beast, unfortunately, but
Yeah, it feels like someone's drilling into my fucking brain with a fucking,
mhm,
something just giant fucking drill
yeah,
bit. Like it's just horrible. It's torture.
yeah.
Um okay, so female comedians, why are y'all funnier, right, than male comedians when it comes to sex and relationships? Where does that come from? Cuz I think I mean, just, Joan Rivers, fucking Amy Schumer. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
insane. The night and day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's because we're honest.
Mm.
I think it's because we actually tell the truth and we don't go out there talking about how big our dicks are, or we don't talk about our dicks at all. And like nobody wants to hear you talk about dicks because we've all seen them and we know what they look
Yeah.
like and then we know what they do or what they're supposed to do. So I just feel like a lot of men like don't get it on that level, and like we are just I just yeah, I do feel like we're supremely honest where sometimes men like to pretend a little bit more.
Yeah. So first and foremost, female comics don't talk about their dicks, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a positive, right? Makes you guys funnier like right away. Cuz
Yeah.
dick humor, right? Like it's probably low-hanging fruit, I would imagine, in the comic
Yeah,
world
for
comedian. Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. Like it is there's something refreshing and like more like cutting edge or like bleeding cool or whatever term you want to use about female comics who are like just fucking this is what it is, bitch.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like this is
yeah,
um and I just think that's insanely just like more open, funnier, more honest, like direct, like it really hits you differently than a
yeah,
male comic, right?
yeah, yeah.
So how does that stuff work its way, like sex and dating and the fucking bonkers pandemic stuff? How does all of that stuff work its way into your material from your real life?
Yeah, I mean, it's so much of what I talk about is, like my dating life, my abysmal dating life. If things are going well, I'll talk about like, oh my God, I was dating this guy, kind of in the in between off the off season of my ex and I. And he was like a love bomber, and I had never experienced a love bomber before, which I'll explain in case people out there haven't heard, because it was my first time. Apparently, it's somebody who just like feeds you with all sorts of like compliments. Like he would bring flowers on our first and second date, and I was like, oh my God, I love flowers, this is great. And like gets real in real quick, like, I'll take you to Paris. I'm like, ooh, oui, je t'aime, Paris, like just like really just like laying it on so thick, bombing you with bunch of love in a way to then be able to manipulate you, so that if you do anything sort of out of the realm of what they want, they like lose their shit. And you are like, whoa, 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 what just happened? How do I get that other person back? It's really crazy. And so I talked about that when I was going through it. And yeah, unfortunately, here's the thing, like when you date a comic, you already are signing a contract that you will be in their set at some point. Like that's just gonna happen. So
Yeah, how do you break it to them that like, okay, do you use like
I just don't invite them to my shows. I wanna continue dating them, so I make sure they d unless we've, like, been together. I mean, nobody's really lasted long enough for me to be like, "Yeah, come to my show, babe. It's gonna be cool. You're gonna
Yeah.
love being made fun of." Um, so yeah.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask, like, if that's ever happened, if you've ever done material about someone and they've been like, "What the fuck, Aaron? Are you serious, Aaron? What the fuck?" Like
Yeah. No, I did. There was this guy that I was starting to see, and he came to one of my shows, and like I hadn't it was so new that I hadn't had any like material necessarily about him, but I did open up by mentioning that he was in the audience, and like just like made a joke about it, but like not about him. It was like at my expense. Like um God, I was, what did I even say? I was like, oh yeah, I have this guy that I really like is in the audience, so I'm probably gonna ruin it, and this will be the last time I see him. Um, but yeah, so yeah, they don't always know that they're being talked about up there, but they should assume.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine some of them are, like, cool with it and, like, fun about it and whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah. I haven't had anybody get angry about it, and I have had a couple conversations with guys being like, "Am I gonna be in your next act?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, you are. That's definitely happening."
Yeah, I mean, where you, like, give them, like, a code name? Even if they're not around anymore, right? Like, say you dated somebody, didn't work out, and you're like, "I gotta fucking dice this dude up for good measure," right? Like, do you get up there and if his name's Chad, you're calling him, like, Big C or, like,
No,
Chester or something? Or you go with real names?
yeah, just right in there. I
Yeah.
mean, he's gonna know until,
Yeah, and, like, if they do, like, fuck them, right? It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
dude, come on," right? Okay.
yeah.
I mean, you knew
I'm trying to remember. I don't actually typically bring up their actual names, but um, if you know me, like you'll know who I'm talking about. There's no way around
Right.
it.
Yeah, for sure. And how is it like being a female comic and like navigating that sort of world, but more so like your role as like a female comic, right? Like you want to be you want to have your style of things, you want to do your way of doing things, and is there like a lot more males around that kind of like make that difficult, or is it like more open and cool, or easy, or what's it like to be a female comic like in the day to day and going and doing material?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always, especially doing new material, it's always going to be a bit of a, are they going to like it? God, am I going to embarrass myself? And like, it's definitely, it's, uncharted waters. Even stuff that I've done multiple times can still sometimes not get laughs. And I'm like, ooh, shit. All right. That's still a possibility. Um, I think it's challenging for sure. It's got a lot of challenges, and I think it's just sort of like you're free falling and trusting that these people you're going to connect with somebody and they're going to connect with you, and like that's it is tough being one of like sometimes like I'll go to mics or shows and I am the only female comic, and that's sometimes like it is a challenge, but then at the same time it can also be a boon because it's like, oh, whoa, that's right. Females do comedy too. Like we can also be funny. Um, and I have found a lot of the majority of like other male comics and female comics have been rather supportive of each other, but once in a while you get that person, and that's just, you know,
Some fucking hater, yeah.
yeah, I think that's just life in general. I feel like a lot of male comedians specifically like to give unsolicited notes.
Mm.
I found, which I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll use that note that I will never use because it
Hmm.
applies to you and not me.
See, that's just like that's the worst. Unsolicited anything,
Yeah,
unsolicited fucking dick
yeah,
pics, unsolicited fucking advice, unsolicited fucking shouting
mm,
about who you should vote for. I mean, all of it. Anything unsolicited is always bad,
yeah, yeah, for sure.
unless it's a compliment.
In which case, yes, unsolicit me compliments. Oh, all day, every day.
Please, all fucking day, yeah. And I wish more people would just unsolicit, like you said, compliments. Like, why? Why are we not unsoliciting compliments? Why are you trying to fuck around and
Yeah,
hurt
yeah,
someone's fucking shit? Um, okay, and so and like, how do you gauge like what's going on in your head? Right, it might be some dark, twisted dating, sex stuff or whatever, and you want to go up on stage and communicate that the way you thought it, right? Like, but maybe when you write it out or you say it or you're in the mirror, whatever you do, like it just doesn't, or you're on stage, right? And it just doesn't land the same way. Like, what's too far? Have you ever like wrote material and been like, I can't do that. They're going to think I'm fucking nuts.
oh god, I mean literally.
All of
Yeah,
it.
but yeah, there's been so many times I'm like, I don't know if I should say this. I don't know if I can say this. I was even, like I I was thinking about some like abortion material
Timely.
since everything's been fucking up in
Abortion is so timely.
yeah, so like but like and I'm thinking of the thing that saying these things, I'm like, "God, can I even say that? Like, should I not say those things?" But then it's like, no, I have to say that because I'm thinking it. So if I'm thinking it, I'm sure somebody else out there is also thinking it, even if it's only one other person.
Mm, yeah.
It's trial and error, really.
Well, I mean, no, but that's a great fucking rule of thumb, right? Like,
Yeah.
that what a brilliant fucking thought process, actually. Because if you are thinking it right, you're not the
Yeah.
only one. Like I've never thought that, and that's amazing to hear.
Yeah.
Um, I did stand up briefly. Tried it. I actually opened for Jamie Kennedy from the Scream
Nice.
movies and all those things.
Yeah.
And I the first show I just it completely tanked, like
Mm.
completely bombed,
Yeah.
and it was the scariest fucking thing that's ever happened to me, right? And then
Yeah.
you in an hour, you gotta go again,
Yeah.
and, like, someone was like, "Just remove that joke about the fucking drunk driving and the beheading and all because it's just way dark." And I was like, "Oh, cool, yeah, maybe." Okay. So I pulled that out and just kinda fucking, was winging it a
Mhm.
little bit, and it was like, boom, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
shit, okay."
Yeah.
So, you know, that's my sort of, I like, really stepping in, like, on a fucking landmine,
Mhm.
um, and it's cool to hear that, yeah, like that thought process that you have, because sometimes shit might be like not coming out the right way, right? The way that you
Right.
thought it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's always an amazing rule of thumb. Like if you're laughing at it and it's sick and twisted, somebody else is. So very, very
Yeah.
cool. Okay. And then like where did the idea, the concept, the desire to want to act um and be in comedy, where did that come from? Like how early on?
Really early. I was in 4th grade. Um, I was in a play, and I remember I was like on stage and I had some lines and the audience laughed and I was like, that's it. This this is my favorite feeling of all of the feelings in all of the world, and I'm never gonna not do this. And
Yeah.
there she was.
And here we are.
Here we are, multiple years later. We're not gonna disclose how many just because I can't do math.
Yeah, fuck math.
Yeah, love
Okay,
it.
so 4th grade, right?
Yeah.
And then like are you just like consistent? At what point are you like going to your parents and being like, "Hey, I'm gonna move to."
Yeah, so I did like all of the plays in elementary school and all in middle school and high school, and then like when I started like looking at colleges and stuff, I was like, I'm gonna move to New York City. And they're like, no, you're not. And I was like, no, I'm gonna move to New York City. And they're like, no, you're not. And I was like, I am moving to New York City. And they're
Right.
like, okay. So so I went out and studied. I went to undergrad at Pace, and then I went to grad school at Columbia and did like all theater training there. And then when I was at Columbia, I was in a play, and one of the guys in the play was like, "You're really funny. Do you do stand up?" And I was like, "No. Do you?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh." He's like, "You should try it." I was like, "All right, what do I have to do?" He's like, "Just come up with 5 minutes of material, and I'll bring you to an open mic." And I was like, "Okay." And so it was like a similar thing where it's like my first open mic, which is rare. My first open mic, I like killed, and like people were like coming up to me and be like, "Hey, we're going to this other mic. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yes, this is awesome. I'm totally into this." Thinking that it would always be like that, which it wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how. And now like it's just like get me on a microphone and forget about it. It's like that's my happy place.
Yeah, it is addicting as fuck.
Hmm.
And that same thing happened to me. Like the whole fucking, Roy's like fucking Irish pub here in Chicago. It's like, come on, you can do 2 minutes. And I'm like, I've never done it. And they're like, just get up there. Everyone's like really supportive. And I just
Yeah.
riffed on some stuff. People, yeah. And everyone's set. They're mentioning me. I'm like, I'm coming back next week. I'm going to, and then I did that. And it was like crickets. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
fuck. Yeah. But
mhm.
even then, you're like, oh, I just want to get right back into it,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which is great. It's a fucking super addicting feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody should try stand up because it's a firing squad. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's it.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
everyone should try it. The more,
Yeah.
the more scared you are of it, the more that you suck at it. Fucking, the more that you beneficial. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. Okay, and like so what kind of stuff inspired you? Who were you looking to? I mean, obviously it was probably like TV and film first because you didn't study or want to do stand up till you were already in the shit, right?
Yeah.
So what films and then what comedians later on inspired you?
Oh my god. I don't even know. Like I, there's so many like amazing films out there, and there's so many amazing comedians that like boiling it down is always like, "Oh my god, I don't know." I always feel like I freeze on this question even though I've been asked it so many times.
Just make something up, yeah.
I should start writing this down. Um I mean, comedian wise, I will say like Bill Hicks, I got introduced to him rather early when I started doing comedy, and I was like, oh, he's a fucking genius. And like not
Mhm.
a lot of people know about him, but he's so, so smart, or he was. Um, and then like, like I love Amy Schumer and Ali Wong, and Dave Chappelle is phenomenal. I can't stop loving that man.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many amazing people out there. I mean, I guess, film wise, it's funny because I think because I love doing comedy that I love I love watching dramas. So I'm like
Yeah.
huge into movies that'll just like make me cry, like Hotel Rwanda. you know,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
like really dark, heavy stuff that most people would shy away from. I'm like, no, I'm gonna watch that. I'm a huge horror movie fan. Like I love watching horror movies.
Yeah. What's your
Just
favorite horror movie?
the Nightmare on Elm Street series are my favorite.
Yes. Do you like
Yeah.
it because it's like all the like sort of like 80s like raunchy like weird sex, or do you like it for like the crazy like insanely over the top kills like the video game kill and the fucking hearing aid kill? There's a hearing aid kill.
The
This is my
hearing
bro.
aid.
The hearing aid kill is amazing. I think it's like Nightmare on Elm Street 5. You gotta
Oh
see it,
my
y'all.
god,
Like
that
people go,
is
yeah.
you gotta see it.
You gotta see the fucking hearing aid kill. But what's your favorite piece of those? Just like the over the top, because the first one's legitimately scary, right?
So scary.
Yeah.
I think just like the concept of Freddy Krueger being able to fuck with you in your dreams, I was like, "What?
Hmm.
Like that's crazy." Just like but yeah, I think and the camp of it is really fun too. Like the whole
Yeah.
like horror campiness. It's
Yeah.
pretty great.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. It's so weird because the first one's very bleak and fucked up and crazy. And then like, we're saying the next 7 or 8 are
oh,
like a marketing team came
yeah,
in and like,
yeah.
okay, listen, in order for Freddie to be able to sell Snickers, we're gonna have to, or whatever, right?
We gotta tone it down a notch, guys.
More blood, more jokes, less sex. It's like super weird.
Yeah, it does go off on weird tangents for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, super fun though, super fucking
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And it's and what a way to segue into the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, because if you recall, Johnny Depp gets swallowed by a bed and then spit out
Yeah,
all over the ceiling.
he sure
Um,
does. Yeah.
are you watching the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial? Are you keeping up with it?
I'm keeping up here and there. I've found a lot of enjoyment watching Johnny Depp's facial reactions to like literally everything. And then just having the lawyers read his text messages is just the most insane and hilarious thing kind of ever. So yeah, I've been keeping up with it. But I will say like I was watching like the news the other night and I was just seeing how much shit Amber Heard has been getting and how people are still applauding Johnny Depp and it made me really angry that
Oh yeah, let's talk about this.
just like really we're still like we're not even going to give her the benefit of the doubt just because he's a superstar and he's Johnny Depp. Like listen, I fucking love Johnny Depp. I don't want it to be true, but like this is a woman who is claiming that she was abused by this man and she's getting vilified for it. And it is outrageous to me that we can't at least let her have her side and speak her truth. It makes me so crazy.
Yeah, and it's so regardless of who's like guilty, right? Which one of them's guilty or whatever
Right.
the fuck. I mean, Jesus, at this point,
I know.
the court of public opinion is like already fucking ruled on it, and like his lawyers had to know that, yo, this is a relationship that was toxic. There's like fucking tons of drug. I mean, there's just like fucking
Yeah.
popping pills with Marilyn Manson and doing coke with Paul Bettany and the fucking
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
right? It's just like normal. And like if we put him up there and we get him in his charming actor way, right?
Mhm.
Just to be himself
Mhm.
and do that, people are
Mhm.
gonna see Jack Sparrow. People are gonna see 21 Jump Street. People are gonna
Yeah.
see Johnny fucking Rockstar Depp,
Yeah.
whatever. And if we can beat them to the punch, right? So Brilliant on his side. On her side, like, where the fuck did she get her lawyers from? Like 1-800 call a
I
lawyer, or
t
like what's going
Yeah.
on? They like
I'm
argued about muffins for 45 minutes.
oh my fucking god. Yeah. I don't yeah, and I know she just like fired her whole PR team, but it's like, yeah, did you do any research in what you're doing? Because like this is not it's not a small amount of money you're getting sued for.
Yeah, no, and the thing that strikes me, like what you said, is that it's clear that she's a fucking asshole, right? Totally
Mhm.
clear. But it
Mhm.
doesn't invalidate all of her claims automatically just because she's an asshole, right?
Yeah.
It does not. But
Yeah.
like again, I don't think it's not as cut and dry as, oh, look at this meme of Johnny Depp getting flowers from a fan and he was abused. It's like, listen, we get it, yeah. But to me, when I look at that, I'm like, wow, that's a relationship that I was in at one point. If you ratchet up the fucking anger and the drug usage and the
Yeah.
drinking and the craziness and the money,
Yeah.
or that's a relationship that I've seen a lot of my friends in. And
It's
what I
kinda
mean
like
by yeah,
Paris Justin's.
what I what I mean by that is that the level of toxicity, right? Not to use the T
Mhm.
word, but whatever. It's overused, but
I
okay,
mean,
it's a level of like corrosiveness,
mhm.
and they did not want to break up for whatever reason. And we've all been in that relationship. The difference is that's buckets and barrels full of cocaine on top of that,
Yeah.
and fame and money.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, how many of your friends' relationships or your relationships do you see in that relationship? Isn't that bizarre?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the cycle of abuse too, where it's like you get used to that it's the honeymoon phase, and then shit goes down and it's I'll never do it again. And then you're having a lot of great sex and doing a lot of great drugs and everything's perfect, and
Mhm.
then it's all like rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and you're getting sucked into a bed and spit out all over the ceiling.
Spewed upon the ceiling.
Fucking mess. And then all of the gory details, like, oh, Amber Heard shit the bed and da 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 da. It's like, oh my God. Like, okay, a, a- where do you just see it being like he won, she lost scenario? Or what do you see? Like, how does it resolve?
I don't know. I don't know if there is a resolve at this point, you know? It's just 2
Yeah.
crazy psychopath people that got into psychopath relationship and now they're split. But there's a
Yeah.
lot of money and fame involved. So,
Yeah, a ton. And will Johnny Depp's friends ever hang out with him again after outing all of their drug usage and
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, they don't
He's
care.
probably their connect. Be like, "Yo, Johnny, what you got? What you got on me?
Right. Hey, can your guy get me some
Can
pills
you
this
hook me
weekend?
up? Can you hook me up? It's Friday."
Yeah, for sure.
Or like Tuesday at 3 o'clock.
Hey, it's Monday at noon.
You wanna
Can we
hang
do
out?
some fucking coke and fucking
Yeah.
hang out? Yeah, and like he's already getting movie roles and shit. It's like early,
I'm
you
sure.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Disney will come with a pirate ship full of cash, I'm sure. Sorry. We're
Yeah.
sorry.
We love you. We didn't mean it.
Yeah. And good for him, right? But again, this is a toxic relationship between two toxic people.
Yeah.
And we've all been in that relationship. We just don't have the money to go get lawyers and duke it out. We're like,
Yeah.
arguing via text message and shouting in the driveway and shit usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um is that are people in the comic world like doing material on the trial?
I haven't really heard too much.
Yeah.
Not at least not from where I've been growing up and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure there's is out there. I mean, it
Yeah.
is entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's coming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I based on your like dating history, before the pandemic, through the pandemic, um, being in your last relationship where there's no communication, right? Um, can you give some advice on to people out there and like maybe how to fucking not have a relationship where the dude's fucking not texting you back for 3 days and oh sorry, is it Tuesday or whatever, like what would you tell people, right? How would you advise people, how would you give your unsolicited advice on dating?
Jesus. All right. First step, don't listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Second step, don't do anything I do.
Yeah,
Uh,
don't listen to me either.
I feel like, I feel like honesty is always big. I'm very big on honesty. I'm very big on communication. And I'm very big on like letting that person know how I like to be communicated with. And if they can't do that, then that is not going to be a healthy relationship. I completely did not follow my own advice in this last one. But also, here's the thing, I kept waiting for him to change and to be able to magically communicate. And that's on me because if they're intrinsically not like that, they're not going to magically change. That's like the definition of insanity, waiting
Mm.
for somebody like, doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. And that's what I was doing. Like, I kept waiting for this magic wand to be waved. But that's it. So yeah, just if you see what you see before you is what you get. I think let's go with that.
Yeah, that's a fucking great. I mean, that's timeless advice, right? It doesn't matter how many times, you'll
Yeah.
probably fall victim to not following your own advice because that's what we do, right?
And yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I was like, no, I'm not trying to change him as a person. I just want him to change the way he behaves towards me. Oh, okay. That's
Mm.
okay. I see now. I see now what I did.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And there's just something that we're like trained or something like societal where it's like it
Yeah.
has to be this thing like, oh no, no, no. Like it's like, no, man, like it's as simple as this person isn't great at that. Doesn't mean they're a terrible person. It just means they're terrible at that, right? Find
Yeah.
somebody else because there's a whole and I
Yeah.
think that that's where it gets lost.
And I think maybe for another person, maybe like he could be with somebody who doesn't mind that. But for me, it's high on my list and it
Yeah.
makes me out of my mind. I get freaked out when I don't hear from my friends for a few hours. I'm like, are you dead? Did you die? Like, what's happening? You know?
Seriously though, right?
Yeah.
Um okay, and you know, taking our pick from all of the fucking wonderful things happening in the world, right? We could pick from the Ukraine fucking war. We could pick from the fucking the stock market. Jesus Christ, whatever's happening there, and the fucking inflation or whatever. The big thing, this Roe v. Wade nonsense, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I saw like Jimmy Fallon or someone last night like go out and try to hit it with a joke, and it just like it did not. People laughed because they're fucking the guy's hitting the applause sign like twice as hard, but he stayed on it. He did like 3 gags on it, 3 jokes, and it just
Mhm.
was like right. So as a comedian, with something that important and that fucking horrific hanging in the balance, how do you even will you even try to do a bit on Roe v. Wade, or will you just stay away from it?
I don't know, like, it's really sensitive right now, like, I'm in, like, a group text with a lot of my girlfriends, and we're like, "The fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?" Like, it's
Yeah.
just like, like, tears are being shed, like, this is awful, we're going back 50 years now.
Yeah.
Um, but, like, that being said, like, that's part of what my job is to do, is to, like, make light. But, like, I think, yeah, it's a tricky one, it's a fine line, and so that's why, like, there are some, like, abortion jokes that I wanna make, but it's also like,
Yeah.
do we do that? Yeah. I don't know about specifically the Roe v. Wade. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think more where my coming in is, like, abortion stuff.
Is abortion stuff part of your normal, repertoire
I
anyway?
had I had some not typically, like, every once in a while, I'll slip in a thing. Um I'm like, "Should I just say it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I guess I will." Where
Do it
it's like,
up.
I'm just, like, thinking, like, it's, like, kind of like we're just when you're about to go on a diet, And, like, but you're like, "On Sunday, we eat all the french fries." So, like, right now, I'm sort of like, "Yeah, fuck it. Let's just go out and do all we can and have all the abortions we can while we can have them because we might not be able to have those french fries tomorrow."
Yeah, I mean, see, that is, like,
A
well
little
thought out, good comedy, right? Like, go get all the
Yeah, let's
just
do
go
it
fuck
now while we
everybody.
can.
Yeah, yeah. Because that is such a human way of thinking, right? And then
Yeah.
you just made it funny. See, that's great. That's wonderful. You should do that joke fucking out. Do that
Thank
joke in the grocery store.
you. Right. Okay.
Everywhere.
Listen up.
But I think you're right. Like, it is fucking important, right? Like, you do have an important job on that front, but it
Yeah.
does make like the stock market, or like, well, like texting your friends, like, I guess I'll just go with my Ukrainian bit then, like, because it's like the fucking abortion stuff way harder,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I do think I've heard men try to do abortion jokes and like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You don't get to do those unless you're
No.
pulling it off in a way that is surprisingly funny. But for the most part, it's the same thing. You are not getting your rights taken away. I am.
Yeah, just be supportive, bro. What the
Yeah.
fuck? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. Erin Alexis, where can people find you? What do you have coming up?
I am on Instagram. I am Erin Alexis. I am in audition land right now. If anybody wants to cast me, you can talk to my agents. We'll see if you can pencil me in.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm actually like kind of working on booking some more comedy shows currently. So we're working on that as well. But I'll be on the open mic scene in LA. You can see me there too.
So
And
fine.
at any local bar, I'll probably be drinking.
Buy her a drink, go to her shows, follow her on Instagram. She's hilarious. Big things coming. Thank you for being on Sex Party.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it was a blast. We will definitely be talking soon.
Love it.
See ya.
Bye.
Big thanks to Erin Alexis for being on the show this week with me. Big things coming from her in the future. Love it. Love it. If you guys are loving Sex Party, if you are enjoying these episodes, these guests, this information, all my fucking idiot bullshit, you can do a couple things. If you're listening on platforms like Apple or Spotify, you can subscribe to the show. You can leave a review. You don't have to do these things. They help the show grow. It would mean a lot to me, but you don't have to. But I'll love you for it if you do. So it's your choice. If you're watching on YouTube, yo, how you doing? You all right? Hanging in there? It's tough, I know. You can like the video on YouTube. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can leave a comment on YouTube. Again, you don't have to do any of this absurd bullshit, but it means a lot to me and it helps the show grow. The algorithms are fucking wacky. You know how it is. I appreciate it. I love you guys. Drop me a DM on Instagram or Twitter if you want to chat. And I will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. The party continues next week. Click subscribe and let's make this a regular thing. Follow the show on Instagram and Twitter at SexPartyFM. Follow Dustin at Dustin Rybka.